Guess what I've got for you today? Yeah, you saw the thumbnail. It's a Breda semi-automatic shotgun. Now I'm going to show you how to disassemble this gun. We're going to take off the stock fore-end barrel and we're going to take the bolt out, okay? So stick around. I will show you how to do it. Now the first thing you want to do is you need to remove the fore-end. So I find that it's easier if I put it down, put the stock on the ground, and you remove the fore-end cap. Push it down on the barrel slightly. That will release it enough so you could start to unscrew the cap. Okay. Once you do that, set that aside, and then fore-end comes apart. Set that aside. Okay. So now you can see the spring. You got the covering here. What I do, can slide that off, set that aside. Okay. Now the next thing you need to do, you need to remove the barrel. So best way to do that, pick the gun up, pull back slightly, there you go, and that releases the barrel. Okay, set that aside. So now you're free to remove the collar, and then there's the washer that comes with it. I'll show you how to put that on when you're gonna assemble. Set those aside. All right, so now okay, remove your spring, set that aside, and you've got another washer. Right, set that aside. So altogether we've got two washers and we've got a copper sleeve there. Okay, so that's your magazine tube. Okay, now we've got the bolt. Now to remove the bolt, it's got a tail section here onto that connects the bolt, and it also corresponds with the recoil spring that goes up into the stock. Okay, so you need to make sure that the hammer is down, otherwise you won't get that off. Okay, and then underneath, maybe you could see there is a metal bit in there that you have to push with your finger, right, whilst you're sliding the bolt that way. Okay, so first is first, get the hammer back. I just cock it back, hammer goes down, and I hold on to it, press the release, slowly push it forward. Right, now the hammer is all the way down. Okay, so it's cocked. Now this tail section will need to come up. So what I do, get my finger under there, push that metal bit while I slide forward, and I get hold of this bit, pull it up slightly, right, then slide the bolt out. There you go. So that's a bolt out. Set that aside. And now you've got the trigger mechanism, right? Show you how to get that out. Now you got the safety. So in between the safety zone and the live zone, or they call it battering zone, you put the safety in between those 2 points, right? And you can push on this end and it pops out. So in the center, push, wiggle a little bit. I see it comes up, comes out, there you go. Set it aside. Now this is free to come down, but there's a section in here that you have to literally move it out of the way. Alright, so if you move that out of the way, alright, so it's this section here. Press that out of the way and the trigger mechanism comes out. Okay, so these are your main components for the gun that you'd give a nice clean bit of oil, make them nice and shiny. Right, now for your stock. Right, so to remove your stock, what you need to do, you got 2 screws in the recoil pad. Right, you can take your flathead screwdriver and remove the rubber stops. They just cover the whole relay, stops water from going in, that sort of stuff. So you got 2 of them. Pop one out, gently work it out, get your finger there, that's it. So they're flatheads, right? So you get the flat section of your screwdriver, unscrew that, unscrew last one, unscrew the second one, there we go. Right, so if I remove, there you go, set that aside. Right, now you can see there's a nut there. Now this nut has got it's hollow, so it's got a hole going through it, and you will see in a second that there's a piece of wood that goes through that hollow section. I'll show you what this is for. This is very important, right? So you get your socket, which is a 14 socket with an extension. Pop it over the nut. Put your whatever handle you've got. In my case, I've got a ratchet handle, and you undo it. Now I don't do it all the way because it's under tension. Then I slowly undo that nut, because there's a spring, the recoil spring is in here. Right, there you go. So you got your screw, and it's got a hole going through it, as you can see, and you've got your recoil spring, okay, and you've got your washer, okay, and then stock comes off. So there you go, all disassembled. Okay, now we need to put it back together now, don't we? Right, so this is what you do, everything in reverse. What I do, I put my stock back on. It's just easier to put the rest of the parts when you got the stock on. Now, I mentioned earlier that we've got this piece of wood. Now, the purpose of this, I'll show you. Let me take the stock off and show you what it's used for. So the spring goes in there, okay. As you can see there, that's the recoil section that the bolt is attached to. Okay, so it sends the bolt back forward when you slide it back. Okay, now this goes under pressure when you tighten it. However, because it's in a hole all the way down there, it will be really difficult to get the bolt to get back in this section with the spring all the way out there. So what you do, you put the wood through the bolt with the stock on, and you feed the wood inside the spring like so. So when you put your tool onto the bolt and you push it in, it goes all the way in a guided way, then you tighten it like so. Yeah, that's the reason why you have that piece of wood. Otherwise you'd have a hell of a job trying to get it in without it. Okay, right, You can even leave a spring in. Okay, so there we go. We've got your spring there. Right, we go to a washer. Don't forget your washer. Goes over that section. Okay, get your wood into the spring. Get your tool, your 14 socket, over the bolt, push it into the hole and tighten. Now tighten it till you feel it catches the thread, so you know it's in there. There we go. Right, so the wood will just stay dangling in there, won't do anything. Ready for when you're ready to disassemble and reassemble again. Give it a bit of tight, not too tight. There we go. It's all good to go. You can put your recoil pads back on. Give that a bit of tighten. Okay, then you can put your rubber bits in, but obviously I'd expect you to clean all these bits up before you reassemble. So there you go, that's that. Now, so you need to put your trigger mechanism back in. So slide this in. So what I tend to do, this bit there, I tend to hold it in first, like so. Hold it in, then slide it in. That's in place. Then get your bolt for the safety bolt, put that back in, so that's operational. Okay, so trigger mechanism back in. So you need to get your bolt back in now, right? So make sure you line it up properly in the sliding grooves. Okay, pay attention to this tail bit, because remember it needs to go into the recoil spring section on the back. So if you pull it, that's it, then it catches under the bottom, catches, so it's in. Okay, now we got our bolt back in. So what we need to do, we need to get our front recoil spring on, and we need to get our barrel back on. Now remember, we got a washer. Okay, get your washer back onto this section. Okay, get your spring on. Okay, now set this down a second. Now I told you about your brass ring and your tapered ring. Okay, they go to the front, towards the front of the shotgun on the spring. Now the tapered section, this can be turned anyway, but you need to decide what kind of load you're going to be firing, and that will determine what way you turn this washer. So if it's a heavier load, you make sure the tapered section is turned towards your brass sleeve, like so. Okay, if it's a lighter load, you turn the flat end towards the brass ring, and the whole point of it is when you fire the round, a heavier load will press against it, making it sit a bit tighter on the sleeve, on your magazine sleeve. Okay, so in this case we'll leave it with for the heavier rounds. Stick that back on, both of them together, like so. There you go. Right, and now it's time to put the barrel back on. So what I do, get it onto the front, and then I turn it this way, and just push down. Make sure it's lined up. There you go. So push in and caught. There you go. Right. So if you look at it from this way, you see it's all caught nicely. So slide the cover back on. Okay, so it's all nice and seated. And then need to get the fore-end back on. Okay, so it'd be a good idea to stand it up. If you can see, this section is exposed, that needs to be in. So you'd be better off standing it up, pushing down on the barrel while you catch your magazine cap. There you go. Tighten that. Okay. So now you see it's all tightened, all seating properly there. Right. Make sure it's tightened. So test it. There you go. There you go. So I hope you found that useful. As always, leave me in the comment section. Let me know if you liked the video. Let me know if there's anything that you didn't like, anything you want to see, anything I may have done wrong, said wrong, you know the drill. And if you want to see me do a restoration on this gun, let me know in the comment section. Catch you on the next one.